Welcome to the Cyber Business Podcast, where we feature top founders and entrepreneurs and share their inspiring stories. Now, let's get started with the show.
Matthew Connor here, host of the Cyber Business Podcast, where we feature successful business leaders, top law firms, green energy companies, and more. Today, I have Chad Franzen here from Rise 25, who's done hundreds of interviews with successful entrepreneurs, investors, and CEOs. And we flipped the script, and he'll be interviewing me. Chad, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks so much, Matt. Great to be here. I look forward to talking with you. First, I will let everybody know that this episode is brought to you by CyberLynx.com. That's CyberLynx.com. CyberLynx is a complete technology solution provider to ensure your business has the most reliable and professional IT service. The bottom line is they help protect you from cyber attacks, malware attacks, and the dreaded dark web. Their professional support team includes managed IT services, chief information officer services, IT help desk services, cybersecurity services, data backup and recovery, VoIP services, and more. Their reputable and experienced team, quick response time, and hassle-free process ensures clients are 100% satisfied. To learn more, visit cyberlynx.com. That's cyberlynx.com, or email them at help@cyberlynx.com. You can also give them a call, 202-996-6600. Hey, Matt, it's great to talk to you today. How are you?
Great, man. Great talking to you too. Thanks for joining the show.
Yeah, thank you. Hey, as we get into things here, why don't you tell me about what you were up to, what you kind of did professionally before you decided to start your own business?
Sure. Well, professionally, let's see. I started programming professionally at a very young age, 12, actually. My dad designed electronic circuit boards, and I started writing code for his company and then a bunch of other companies as throughout my teen years. Then I joined the Army, where I did a bunch of really cool military intelligence stuff, got to use technology and intel stuff. They taught me some Mandarin Chinese and Spanish. So had a really fun time there. And then when I got out of the Army, we were visiting family in the Lexington, Virginia area, and just absolutely fell in love with the place. It's like modern day Mayberry, very, very nice town. And realized that there wasn't anybody really helping small business with technology there. So we started your IT department at the time, and it was great. 11 years later, we're now down in Lexington and up here in the DC area, and currently rebranding to cyberlynx.com. So, yep. Okay, so it was called your IT department. What made you decide that it was time to branch out on your own? And did you ever envision yourself as an entrepreneur? Yeah, I think, given that my dad, growing up, my dad was an entrepreneur, started his own business. And then eventually he ended up, working for other companies. But I just, after my time in the Army, I just think that I always kind of envisioned myself that way. I've always had ideas and was like, well, we can execute this. We can run this as a team. So it was just always kind of a natural fit for me. It wasn't a thing. I played with the idea of going and working for the government, but the older I got, the more I really wanted to, and you start working in tech again, because as at the time, now this was technology had come a long way while I was in the Army, and we got to use some of that. But when you're in the top secret level, you go into work and you can't bring your phones, you can't do a lot of stuff. And I was like, your hands are kind of tied once you get, once you're in that what they call a skiff, right? It's this box, this metal box where everybody works and no signals get in and out. So I think that was really what encouraged me to go out and start a company in the tech industry.
Tell me about what the early days were like. As you mentioned, it was called your IT department. It's now called CyberLynx. You're kind of transitioning to that new name. Tell me about your IT department and what the early days were like.
Yeah, it was really nice because, like I said, Lexington's a great little town. A real salt of the earth. It was nice getting to work with just really solid people. And then really you, because it's small business, you got to see the impact that technology can have, kind of firsthand. So when we first got there with almost every single one of our clients, they were struggling with technology because they were good at what they did, and the underlying technology that allowed them to do that, that they were trying to use to help them with that, they weren't great at that. It was a struggle for them. So going in there and getting things smoothed out, helping them do that it was actually really rewarding. So I'd say for a good let's see, I was in the Lexington area personally for about 7-8 years, and just absolutely loved it. It was every day was a new day, new problems, helping these companies, seeing them grow, seeing them if nothing else, the lack of headaches that they had, and knowing that now we haven't had so much as one client ever get infected with ransomware, viruses, malware. So from day one, we've done a great job of keeping our clients just completely safe, which has been, for me, it's been personally very rewarding. And I think even though they're happy, it's data, their normal day to day, they don't really notice or feel the difference. They just every day they come in, their stuff works. They're not ransomed. They're not having a crazy disaster. Don't be wrong. Sometimes things happen. Lightning strikes. Have had that happen. More than once, where it zaps some computers, and then they get the quick response. We get in there and get them squared away. But honestly, it's really great getting to work with small businesses and help them, because a lot of people don't. They like the big government contracts. They like the big business. There's more money in it. Personally, I love that aspect of it. I love helping the little guy do better.
Is there a lot of things that you focus on differently now than you did when you first started the company, with regard to some of the things you spoke about, some of your specialties?
Oh, sure. So when we first started, I don't want to say it was basic IT, but it was a simpler time even back then. It was before ransomware. Cybersecurity wasn't it's really not a thing so much. Now it's top of mind for everybody. So we've transitioned from just making sure that their computers work when they come in, and that alleviating that headache is great. But now it's about so much more. We've come up with a way of keeping our clients super secure, and yet still be able to do what they need to do. And that's a tough balance to create. And I think large businesses have a real problem with it, because their attack vector, if you will, the space that they have the surface, I should say. So their attack surface is so large as a big organization. It's a tough job, right? I mean, imagine just like if you've got a huge fort that you're trying to defend, well, you need a lot of people actively looking for a lot of things, right? But when you've got a small fort, and it's like, okay, one guy can can do the job. So small business has that advantage of having a smaller attack vector, but the challenge is getting it to where it's safe and secure, and they can still do everything they need to do. So we do some really cool stuff on the cyber side that allows them to be, we say 100%, ransomware free guaranteed, which I think is fantastic, because nobody else really does that. And you can't with a larger company. It's simply impossible. But with a small company, you got 50, 70 employees less, 100 employees or less, totally doable. But when you've got 50,000, forget about it. That's a tough job. We don't want it. We'll leave that to other people. But yeah, so that's changed drastically from day one. And then we also have launched our CIO services, which is a big change. I mean, it was kind of integrated into it early on as just hey, let's talk about your business and where it's going and what can technology do. And so, but now it's much more formalized. We have a really great process of coming in, understanding the business, where they want to go, what their business plan is, and how we can leverage the right technology to help to get them there. So, a lot of our clients have made the kind of natural mistake of getting a sales pitch from somebody about a product, a software, a solution that sounds great. They get 6 months, a year down, 2 years down the road, and then they're like, oh crap, Well, now we have to pivot and change and go with this other one. And that's a very costly transition. Whether you have one or two employees or you've got, 50, it's a big transition. So what we do with our CIO services is we're able to see down the road a lot easier on the tech side, whereas a business owner who's not in tech, a slightly harder time doing that. Just kind of seeing what those twists and turns might be, and what, how we prevent that. So in any event, our CIO services have changed drastically as well. So I'd say those are two big areas that have changed.
Yeah, absolutely. So you're in the process, or you're changing your name from your IT department to CyberLynx. Can you kind of give us some background on that decision?
Sure. So, I always loved your IT department, the idea of it, because at the end of the day, I want our clients to think of us as exactly that, their IT department. So when they're like, oh, I got a problem, call your IT department. Hey, got an idea, want to see if this makes sense. Hey, where can we go? If it's anything dealing with, technology, just call your IT department, because that's what you do if you were in a bigger firm. A bigger company would just go to their IT department and they'd get the answers, the help they needed. So I really like that aspect. But I think for us, we have grown and evolved so much from where we started from, and now we've got clients all over the country, and we've got multiple offices. And I think that now CyberLynx, it kind of better encapsulates the idea of us being much more of a cyber based and oriented company than just the idea of an IT department. Yeah, we're still your IT department, but we've got that cyber end covered for you, the CIO stuff. So there's a lot of changes that have gone on there, and I think CyberLynx kind of will allow us to grow, and at least it's more fitting. I like the name anyway.
Sure, it sounds great. Sounds great. So you talked about this a little bit, but what would you say is the biggest reason that people choose you? What's kind of the biggest benefit and uniqueness about working with your IT department, or CyberLynx, as it's now called?
Sure. Well, I think a couple of things. One, and I did touch on it. There's not another company that we've found that will offer that 100% ransomware free guarantee, and we can go into the details of how and why we do that. But at the end of the day, that's the level of protection that our clients get. A lot of our competitors are pretty good about offering that IT help desk service, and ours is great. I mean, you call up to get service, and instantly somebody answers the phone. Instantly, within seconds, they're on your computer helping you with whatever problem you have. So we're really great at that. And others are I'm sure there are others that are great at it too. And there are varying levels. Some are not so great at it, and we get a lot of clients because their current provider was not so great at that. And then I think the other thing that we do better than others is with our CIO services. We actually go in now and we evaluate where the business is when we start. We put together a plan and we evaluate their progress throughout, and then we at the end of this, they get to see, hey, look, I did make a great decision. Here's the money we've saved. Here's the progress we've made. Here's the efficiencies that we've got. Our employee satisfaction with their IT is now at this level. So that's something we do differently than other IT firms. I haven't met one that does that. So, and that's part of our formalized CIO process. So I think that's great. For people to be like, yeah, I made a great choice in doing this, or so I like that.
So you talked about how we can get into why and how you guys make the guarantee that you make. Why and how do you make the guarantee that you make?
Sure. So this is actually really interesting. So if you're familiar with, everybody's familiar with a web browser, right? You go onto the web and you click on whatever you click on, and it does whatever you expect it to do. Now, the problem with that is that your web browser and any other program that you launch has all the rights that you have on your computer. So if your computer is allowed to, if you are allowed to run code, so is your computer. If you're allowed to delete files, so is your app that you open, right? So what we do is we do what we call ring fencing, application ring fencing. So your browser, we say, hey, look, browser, you can go out and you can browse web pages just like you're supposed to. You can download files just like we want you to. That's it. You cannot run code. You can't access any other files. You can't access the network shares. All you can do is browse websites and do this. So the second it tries to do something else, it's instantly stopped. So this is really handy because then I know that if, let's say, everybody's worried, oh crap, did I click on a bad, attachment in an email, or crap, I did, did, and then, the damage is done the second you've clicked on that and opened up that attachment, which is true, but it's not true for our clients. With our clients, they don't have to worry about it. Click away. It won't matter because each one of your applications are only allowed to do what they're supposed to do. So, and then there will be exceptions where you get some people who are developing something. So we've got some people who are a little more tech savvy and they need a particular application to be able to do more. Great. Well, we set those up specifically, and so it's really kind of cool because from the time they say, "Hey, look, I need this software," to the time they can it's all configured and ring fenced properly and back, it's a matter of 2-3 minutes. So that 2-3 minute changeover, and that's without like any warning. If they're like, "Hey, look," ideally they call up and they say, "Hey, look, this is what we're going to do," or they put in they open up a chat or an email or whatever, contact us in their preferred method and say, "Hey, look, we need this new software to do this thing." Great, no problem. We know that software, or we don't know that software. We'll check it out, put the ring fencing in, and send it off. And now, within, like I said, a minute from us approving it, now on their computer, they're able to do what they wanted to do and do it nice and safe. So that's how we do it. Because I think at the end of the day, you can go about security in a lot of different ways. But for us, if we can protect that endpoint in that way, then it doesn't matter what they do. I don't have to worry about putting in crazy spam filters. Some people might like it and they're like, "Ugh, I'm tired of seeing all the junk." And that's fine. We've got spam filtering. We can do that. But I don't care how you come in contact with this stuff, because if you're fortified from it. You're fortified from accidents. You're from intentional. It doesn't matter. You're nice and safe. So that's how we can do it. And we've tried every which way from Sunday. And like I said, I started programming when I was 12. I know my way around a computer, and I can't figure out a way around this. Not saying some genius can't, right? Or quantum computers come out and they change the game. And but that's not happening anytime soon. And with the small attack surfaces of our clients and everything else that we do, it's they're nice and safe. So that's why we can easily. It's funny because my lawyer didn't like this idea initially. He's like, "What are you talking about? That's crazy talk." And then we discussed it. And once I explained to him how it works and how he was much better about it. So yeah, so that's how we do that.
You talked about how you started a program when you were 12. I was going to ask you about your childhood or growing up. Was there a time where you knew like this is my thing? I'm going to get into this.
Well, it's funny because I came from a family of 5, and my 2 older brothers, they were very much into the mechanics and other things. So they were doing other things with my dad. And what was interesting was when my dad brought home this computer, and it was an early IBM 8088, and when you turned it on, it doesn't do anything. You have to it went straight into basic, right? So you had to program everything you did. So I was like, oh, okay, great. So I started writing these computer programs, so that just because otherwise it doesn't do anything. And very shortly thereafter, I had written up this banking software. Basically, I called it an ATM because ATMs had just kind of come out at the time. It was new stuff. So I set this up to where my brother would come and he'd want to borrow money, and so I would he'd just be able to go to the computer, punch in his PIN, how much money he wanted. It'd print out the ledger for me, and I'd go to my save, give him the money. So yeah, and at that point, once I that it kind of hooks you. Computer programming, once you make it do something, it's kind of it's very rewarding. So it gets people hooked pretty quickly if you're able to do something fairly quickly with it, and you're like, oh, I just made it do something, and it's just something small. Oh, that's cool, and you start building on that and building on it, and before you know it, you're completely hooked.
You did that when you were 12?
Yeah.
What was the reaction of like the adults in the room? Were they like, wow, or they're like, oh, that's cute?
I think my dad was like, yes, free labor. So they, so I think that was pretty much the reaction.
Hey, tell me a story, or tell me who a mentor of yours might be, and maybe a story and an impact that they had on you. Maybe some advice you received from them, if you can think of them. Don't mean to put you on the spot.
Ooh, let's see. A mentor and some advice. That is a great question. Um, I don't know. I'll have to come back to you
Yeah,
on
why
that
don't we
one.
come back to that? Why don't we come
Yeah,
back to
that's a
that?
good one.
Hey, let's talk a little bit about your podcast.
Yeah.
Why are you starting this podcast?
Well, I think there's a few reasons, but I think the great part about the podcast is it's going to allow us to talk to some really interesting people and give them an opportunity to tell their stories. I mean, we've got there are all kinds of great companies like Empower Energies. They're this great green energy company here in Bethesda. Fantastic company. They got a great story, and it's going to be fun to interview them, have them tell their story. There's just so many like that. We've got a lot of great law firms that do some really great work, and once they have those they have some really great cases that they try, and it'll be fun to be able to have a platform them to tell their story beyond just maybe posting on it on LinkedIn. And you're like, oh, that was great. You get to share, but having this platform for them to be able to have a quick 20-30 minute conversation, tell the story. I think people like it. I know I'll be interested in the stories, and it's fun for me. So if nothing else, it'll be really enjoyable to hear these stories. But I think there'll be a lot more value than just that.
Sure. Who do you think would be most interested in listening?
Most interested in listening? Well, we're going to cover so many areas. Green technologies, fascinating one for me. The law, I love, and we've got some great legal clients and green energy clients that I think will be great. So I think, and then we're going to cover a lot of very fun. We're going to try to make it fun anyway, so that it's stuff on cybersecurity and technology. So we're going to interview some great software companies. I think will be fun. So I think really any small business owner, we're going to get people in the green energy, in law firms. I think the law industry. I think there's going to be a lot of people who are going to enjoy the talks. We'll see.
In the near future, I'm going to interview you on some other topics that you kind of have an expertise in. So during that time, I'll put you on the spot about your mentor, and I'll give you some time to think about it, if that sounds
Perfect.
good to you.
Sounds great.
Okay. Hey, Matt, it's been great to talk to you. Thank you so much. And I'll look forward to speaking with you on a future episode.
Absolutely. Thank you.
So long, everybody. Thanks for listening to the Cyber Business Podcast. We'll see you again next time, and be sure to click subscribe to get future episodes.